In terms of introduction, just wanted to let everybody know I'll be playing the role of the solution architect today from a functional perspective. And what we're going to be reviewing today is, first of all, we're going to review application portfolio management value map that we normally set up with customers. Then we'll talk about some of the application portfolio management capabilities, how to discover, rationalize, and reduce your overall application costs. Then we'll highlight the software asset management value map, and then talk about how you can look for ways to reduce your costs from a software perspective. So thanks again for joining us today in our continuing series here of finding budget savings within your organization. Those of you that might not have worked with ResultsPositive, we are an organization focused on helping customers really receive positive business outcomes and positive business results by leveraging your technology investments. We do that through our various service offerings, and we support various different dimensions of the ServiceNow platform, ServiceNow being our strategic go-to-market partner. And so we wanted to participate here and join in co-hosting and giving everyone awareness to the value that customers can achieve by investing in ServiceNow. So the first thing I just wanted to highlight here is the application portfolio value map. So we always like to focus on maximizing business value and really focusing on core strategic objectives. So optimizing your application inventory. So that's about right-sizing your inventory and really making sure that you're investing wisely in your applications. So to achieve that overall strategic objective, we look at the various goals that are going to drive various initiatives in the organization. So want to be around rationalizing your strategic and duplicative applications. There'll be retiring, either outdated, maybe you have a technology refresh or end of life, as well as unused applications. So those are typical goals and initiatives that organizations follow to drive the outcomes. And we'll talk about the outcomes in summary here at the end. Some of these outcomes cross the different goals and initiatives. The next area here is optimizing the supporting software and technology costs. So one thing that's really key here with the application portfolio management is not only can you right size and or reduce the number of applications, but you have the underlying costs and infrastructure as it relates to software and technology. So by eliminating those applications, as we can see here from a goals perspective, we can discover and eliminate any underlying software and infrastructure costs. So it's an opportunity to make sure that when we're retiring that application, that we're retiring the infrastructure and the software associated with it. Also, common goal here is to really look for ways to proactively monitor your required software and technology refresh, technology end of life. So that's a key initiative. That way you're not going to have a lot of risk with applications that are out of compliance or applications that are at risk with an overall upgrade, or in today's world, be at risk of security breach. Next core goal and initiatives around reducing your application and IT operational support costs. So this is the ongoing cost to support and maintain your applications. So key initiative here and goal that can be achieved by using application portfolio management. The next strategic objective here is around increasing your application maintenance. So that is really a key component here and a differentiator for ServiceNow. A lot of times when we've helped organizations implement application portfolio management with other solutions, the portfolio becomes quickly out of date because there's not a lot of workflow and automation to maintain that application inventory and that application portfolio. And so through that workflow, through the usage of the CMDB and the associated discovery tools, you can keep that application portfolio up to date, thereby helping to increase the accuracy as well as helping you to more forecast your overall costs. And then associated with that would be the efficiencies related to automation. So as we see here in terms of core goals, looking to automate your application assessments, automate the usage, automate the performance of your applications. So how are they performing, as well as making sure that they are still active. Next here is automating the application data completeness audits as well as certification efforts. So within ServiceNow, you have the opportunity to perform audits as well as make sure that the data is accurate. Make sure you don't have any missing data or orphaned data between the supporting softwares and technology supporting your applications. So those are the common goals and initiatives that we see organizations focus on. And the outcomes here, and this is definitely an area that is very tangible and hard savings. So the ability to reduce your application technology and software costs as a function of focusing on these overall strategic objectives, implementing these various initiatives and goals. Next is being able to right-size your strategic and operational portfolios. And the reason we talk about strategic and operational as an organization, and we've seen this last year, many industries went from a non-digital to the imperative that they had to be digital immediately. They had to be able to work from home, had to be able to have a different way to engage with customers, whether it be for ordering and pickup and delivery from a restaurant perspective. So that can help you right-size the right applications strategically to grow your business or to maintain your business. But then also from an operational perspective, what are the back office systems we need to right-size and make sure we don't have redundancies there for the back office operational applications. Next is improving application compliance and reliability. So what obviously want to make sure that the application is in compliance, whether that be just from an overall data compliance or whether it be from a security compliance, even from a software license compliance. We're going to talk more about that when we talk about software asset management. And then just from a reliability perspective, being able to understand the different layers of your application and track and manage that from an overall availability perspective, as well as just from an infrastructure perspective. Next is being able to reduce the total cost of ownership of individual applications. So not only in the beginning here, we talked about how you can save overall costs, but how do we reduce the overall total cost of ownership? And that's through usage of workflow and automation to drive that, as well as by using the ServiceNow platform, you can start to really get a true picture of that total cost of ownership. Some of those costs relate to the incident volumes that are coming in, the changes and enhancements that you're doing on various applications. But if you start using the ServiceNow platform, all those items are on the platform. You can manage your costs and the cost management on the platform, so you can get real-time visibility into the costs as well as the workload required to support your applications. And then last but not least, through the usage of automation, you can achieve employee efficiencies. You can avoid having to do mundane tasks through automation and be able to focus on more value-added strategic planning initiatives around your application portfolio. So this is a common value map that we typically walk through with our customers. We obviously would update this based upon goals and strategic objectives, and then align the outcomes to the customer-specific desired business results. So that's kind of a value map. We always like to start off with value so that executives understand what they're investing in and what the anticipated outcomes will be. So the big question is how does ServiceNow and our services allow you to do that? So we want to talk a little about some of the capabilities and where you can go to identify some immediate kind of quick wins. As we mentioned in our last session and this session here, this is an area that you can immediately get tangible, hard savings. So just by removing applications and the supporting software and technology. Before I jump into that, what we typically look at in terms of our overall framework in helping customers with their application rationalization efforts. First, there is the discovery phase. And so with the discovery phase, we like to follow a top-down and bottom-up approach. So if we come down here from the bottom-up approach, as using automated discovery. So you can utilize ServiceNow's discovery solution that can automate the discovery of all the different items in your network, as an example. So that can feed into your overall application inventory. Just FYI, from a ServiceNow perspective, this inventory is part of your CMDB. And so these will be business applications within the CMDB. And then from a top-down perspective, we see two main areas there. Typically, organizations still need to do some assessments or interviews to really understand the different applications that they're being used. Also, that information could then be used for doing top-down service mapping. So that's another capability with ServiceNow. And what that can do is that can actually provide a URL for a particular business application. It can then go map all the different elements in that application, and that way you'll have a full, complete application map. So that's typically the starting point, is doing discovery. Once you've discovered all your assets, then it's the process of classifying and analyzing those assets, in this case, applications. So one key area is aligning it to business capabilities. That's kind of a strategic function to align it to those capabilities we need to provide that digital imperative, or to provide that order online, pickup, delivery type of service, or to support that work from home capabilities. So that's making sure that we understand our applications. We understand that we don't have two applications for the same capabilities. If we do, that's a great way, as part of our rationalization, to identify application to retire and the subsequent savings. Next is to be able to analyze the workload volumes. So that's very easy to do using the ServiceNow platform, assuming that you're using ServiceNow for your IT service management activities. We talked about total cost of ownership, a key function, definitely a differentiator here from a ServiceNow perspective. Two other key areas, this performance indicators is really key. So this is where various queries, as well as various indicators, you can track and report against across your applications. So that could be from an actual survey, as an example, for customer satisfaction, or that could be actually just tracking the number of changes associated with your application. Another example here then is doing your data audits and certification. Make sure we don't have any gaps of data, as well as doing the certifications to make sure that the data is accurate and complete. Ultimately, from a rationalization perspective, it's using this information and the visibility of that information, as you can see here, to identify where you have gaps, identify where you have redundancies, and then be able to sunset various applications. So great capabilities here across the platform to support this discovery and rationalization framework. Just as a couple other examples, besides just discovering your applications that are on-premise, ServiceNow can allow you to start discovering APIs and cloud services. So that's also available as one of the platform solutions. As I mentioned before, I just wanted to highlight that all of your business applications are going to reside in the CMDB. So all that relationship and that service mapping is going to be available there in the CMDB. When you think about it, when you're managing those requests for changes, when you're managing your tickets for your incidents, those are all related to a specific CI. So that CI can relate to this particular application, or one of the layers within that application. And there we can start to see how we can easily start tracking and monitoring the workload volumes and the associated costs. Other thing here, just kind of highlight some of the different tools. I mentioned those briefly before, but there's the ServiceNow Discovery, to go out and discover your network, discover your servers, discover your network devices, if you will. So you can use Discovery in that fashion. You can use the software asset management to look at your entitlements, understand what entitlements you have for your software, understand where you have gaps or overages. Those actual software models will roll up here into your application portfolio management inventory. So that combined with your hardware items will give you a full picture of the supporting technologies. Also, we talked about the service mapping, which is really more of that top-down type discovery, and doing that mapping across all the different items in your inventory. So the purpose for this was just to highlight how you can start using the different components on the ServiceNow platform to manage it very seamlessly, and to be able to give you that value of maintaining and making sure that your application portfolio is up to date on an ongoing basis. That way you continue to make strategic and operational decisions based upon your application inventory. Here's just another example of doing that service mapping. So once you identify, in this case, the attendance management system, you can provide the overall URL. You can use a service mapping solution on ServiceNow to then go off and discover and map the associated items. And then you can start tracking those items, start understanding the costs associated with those items, so you can start rolling that up into your overall total cost of ownership. Next here, and this is key for enterprise architects. It's key for those that are looking at strategically, do we have any redundant applications supporting multiple capabilities? And so what you can do here, you can start assessing your different capabilities, both from a people, process, technology perspective. Start understanding where you have high risk areas. Those high risks might be related to end of life warnings and activities. It might be that we actually have a gap. Maybe we don't have an application for that capability. It's a new emerging capability. Or maybe we have 5 applications for that capability, and we have an opportunity to do some consolidation. So it gives you some visibility and insights based upon the capabilities you need to run the organization. Then last but not least is the ability then to start rationalizing those applications based upon real-time key performance indicators, either from surveys or from the actual performance indicators on the platform, your number of incidents, the associated costs. If you think about it from your overall assets or your software items, your change volumes there, so you can start really managing and get visibility into that application TCO. And that's very valuable when you've got 3 or 4 applications supporting the same capability, and start to really look at that TCO, start really analyzing that volume of usage, and that can help you identify the right path to strategically and in a low-risk manner retire and sunset various applications. So definitely a key differentiator, having that all available in one solution. Next, I have just a couple of examples here, how you can visualize some of the rationalization. So here's looking at some of those different indicators. So your application score, your TCO score, in this case, looking at your customer satisfaction score across your different applications for a specific portfolio. So you can start to track and understand and recommend various applications to sustain or to invest in or to retire. So you have some application rationalization tools here with the APM solution. Next, here's the technology portfolio management. So this is where you can look at by application. You can start looking at the software models as well as the technology models, and understand the end of life and the end of term of those particular items. So you can practically come over here. If you're using the project portfolio management solution, you can actually go over here and then create a new demand or proposed project, so that you can start investing in that refresh or that upgrade initiative. Or you might be looking at maybe you want to re-platform to a new solution. It might be an end-of-life product. So it starts giving you that planning visibility so that you don't have any surprises, and reduce risk associated with applications end of life. We've talked a little bit about the application total cost of ownership. So providing you with that visibility real time here in the application, so you can always go in periodically and understand the overall total cost of ownership. A lot of time that's being calculated by multiple disparate systems, but you're able to have all that here with one solution. We also talked about the different indicators here, whether it be costs, or whether it be customer sat, or whether it be the volume, or whether it be usage, as well as you can kind of create your own indicators and start tracking those indicators over time, and then start assessing your different applications across those indicators. So a lot of power and automation here within the platform. So as an example, and we kind of highlighted a couple of these in our previous session, this is an area where you can really have tangible, hard savings. So here we're highlighting the 7 million being saved here in application rationalization. We've seen organizations, save $1 million, $2 million in a couple of months just by doing the discovery and inventory of applications and understanding that they have basically some orphaned servers and software that is still up and running, but the application has been retired. So an example of tangible savings. Here's another example here of looking at outcomes. So they were able to reduce the number of applications and software contracts, resulting in tangible results. And so they were also able to support many additional transformation initiatives going forward, giving you that visibility from a strategic perspective as well as from an operational perspective. So that's kind of a brief overview from an application portfolio management perspective. I talked a little bit there about some of the discovery tools that you can use in ServiceNow. You can bring in, if you're using other discovery tools, you can bring that data in to the CMDB. But that was kind of a high-level overview of application portfolio management and really trying to hone in on where can you actually get the savings and what is that overall value map. And Jason, while we're just polling to see if we have any questions, anything you'd like to add here around application portfolio management and what you've seen customers have been able to achieve some tangible savings?
Hey, thanks, John. Absolutely, yeah. I mean, Gartner and Forrester definitely identify this as low-hanging fruit. Within the first year, you can recognize, in general, 10% savings of your software cost is what both those objective analyst organizations estimate. One thing that we've seen is, and I really like the value map, is that some organizations, like with a data plan, data management strategy or something, they try to drain the ocean in one fell swoop, whereas we would really advise to a crawl, walk, run type of approach. We think you're going to see the most value for that. We see our local customers really pushing forward, a majority of them pushing forward on CMDB projects, and then it's a natural progression as you're populating that CMDB with ServiceNow and other external data sources to then make better use of that data, such as app portfolio rationalization.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. We definitely agree and support and encourage customers in that crawling, walking, running approach. That way you can get quick time to value and then grow and scale that value over time. So thank you, and thanks for providing us some of those insights with the industry experts as well. If we don't have any questions, I'm going to move forward here and talk about software asset management. So just as a high-level overview here, many of you probably already know this, but it's basically managing that software lifecycle, whether it be from making that request and purchase to fulfilling that request, deploying, then monitoring, providing the service and retiring those various software assets. So that all can be managed here on the ServiceNow platform. But what I wanted to go to here is our overall value map. And so here we want to focus in on, just like we did for application portfolio management, what are some of the core strategic objectives, what are the goals and initiatives, and what are the outcomes. So these are actually a little similar, but different in terms of the context. So here we're looking to optimize and manage the licenses. So we might have applications, and if we retire an application, we can get rid of all the supporting software and software licenses. But what we're talking about here is we're going to maintain an application, and the underlying software, we might want to optimize the usage of those licenses, even though that application is still up and running. Or these might be end user software licenses, such as MS Teams or Office 365, and so we want to optimize and manage those licenses as well. The typical goals here around this strategic objective is being able to really reclaim those unused licenses, and that way we can achieve some significant cost savings. At the same time, while reclaiming that, we can reduce and avoid software maintenance that's not being used. So getting that visibility, understanding what our entitlements are, comparing that against what we've found in the environment from a discovery perspective, and being able to reclaim those or redistribute those licenses. But if we're able to reclaim those, reduce, we can significantly achieve reducing our maintenance costs. So a key outcome. From a risk mitigation and software standardization perspective, so we all know that more and more software organizations are focusing on auditing. And so Gartner and others say that most organizations might have 1 or 2 software audits per year. And so it's important to make sure that you've got the tools and processes in place so that you don't have to take your eye off the ball of running the business and all of a sudden have to focus on the audit. By having workflow and automation built into your processes, you'll have the information at your fingertips. You'll also be able to constantly manage that audit compliance internally. And so that's part of this overall strategic objective. From an overall goal and initiative perspective, look for ways to automate reporting for your internal and external audit. Be able to look for ways to create alerts so you can understand where you might have compliance issues and take actions internally before you actually cause an actual audit issue. And then ultimately here, reduce the spend in audit compliance and penalties. Obviously, that's a big initiative and it requires focus on tools and workflow. Next here, we have the increase the software operational efficiency. So here in this area, looking for ways to really leverage the workflow as well as automation and tools. And so that's going to help drive the efficiency of the organization, right? Some of this activity here, we want to make sure that we've got the processes and the tools to give us the information we need versus having to have a large team manage and support our investments in software. So one of the core goals and initiatives here is around that single view, real-time view across your software landscape, and kind of reducing those manual interactions. Being able to automate compliance reports and thresholds so you've got that visibility at your fingertips. The overall outcomes, and we've mentioned here, this is another area that you can get significant savings. If you think about it, by doing discovery and understanding and loading in your entitlements, and you could do this from that crawl, walk, run approach, you could identify some opportunities in the first 1 to 3 months. And see, we've seen organizations do it in the first 30 days. So you can really tangibly here get hard savings around software maintenance costs, right size your contracts based on consumption. So there's some really good solutions here to look at understanding the utilization, and you might have those that are not using the system very much, and you might be able to reach out to them and see if they really need that application or that software. If not, you can reclaim that and give it to others that are requesting access, or you can sunset or retire those licenses and not renew the support on those. Improve the compliance. So by being able to track real-time your compliance from an entitlement and usage perspective, that's going to reduce significantly your audit time to prep for audits, as well as avoiding or reducing the cost with any audit findings. And then here, ultimately, we're going to focus on the employee productivity, allowing them to be more strategic and manage the software asset portfolio in a strategic versus operational fashion. So that's a common example of the value map that we focus on with customers as they're looking to implement software asset management. All my hidden slides are showing up since I'm not in slide mode. So next here, we wanted to highlight some of the quickest ways to get value here from a software asset management perspective. So we're seeing many organizations start to get significant savings here from a SaaS perspective. You might have experienced in your organization where you got different business units and they all go out and have purchasing power, so they can go out and sign up and spend money on various SaaS solutions. And so you might have duplicate spend, and therefore you have unused usage. And so you have a significant opportunity there to reduce some of your SaaS spend. Others to detect unknown software spend. So looking for, an understanding where you're not really utilizing the software itself and opportunities to sunset, as well as identifying some of those redundant software opportunities. And then the last one here we kind of mentioned was around really being able to manage compliance and reduce your audit risk and reduce the cost from an overall compliance perspective. ServiceNow has provided a content library of thousands of software products, and that's being used then to normalize against your purchases, and that way you can confirm and start to track your entitlements versus your usage here within the platform. You can see here some of the big names that organizations typically struggle with to track and manage and right size those software license usage and maintenance contracts.
John, if I may, when in my previous life with Gartner, when we would assist customers with some of these audits, at times it seemed like you would need a doctorate to understand some of the Oracle and Microsoft licensing agreements, and in the audit themselves, even if there were not a negative finding, would take a tremendous amount of time and effort and energy from the specific customers that were getting audited, and it was very rare that there was no findings that would cost the customers more money. So we've actually seen that this number 3 use case can provide a very strong ROI in and of itself for discovery and software asset management applications.
Great, thanks, Jason. Thanks for sharing your personal experience there. So yeah, it is tangible. All these areas are very tangible, hard cost savings. An example here on the cloud side of things. So what ServiceNow has done, and I'll kind of highlight here in the next slide, a way to integrate in with your different SaaS providers, be able to collect certain information to help you in your decision making on whether or not you have overspent, or if you can reduce the number of licenses related to your cloud costs. So you'll get some of this real-time visibility, as you can see here. And it's a combination of software asset management, cloud insights solutions here within ServiceNow. Next here, just to kind of highlight a little bit on how that actually occurs. So there's various type of integrations that are set up here. Typically at that API level or some out of the box. You can also set up your own, but basically you can track your overall sign-on usage across the organization. When was the last time individuals were using a particular application? You can look at some specific transactions, if you will, or activities here, such as the last time a meeting was used, as an example. You can look at some of your storage consumption analysis here. You can also use the no-code, low-code designer to really look for some additional optimization. So the differentiator here is that ServiceNow supports all these levels versus other vendors just supporting a couple levels. And then you'll get that visibility here into potential savings and be able to go in and look at each one of those and then be able to take action so that you can start reaping the benefits of that analysis. Just as at a high level, you tie in an integration into your different cloud providers. You'll be able to then track information, whether it be data or billing information. And then from there, you'll be able to start tracking various recommendations that will be driven. You'll be able to set up your own policies as well. And ultimately then move on to taking actions and following up with those that are purchasing the actual SaaS solutions. Next is detecting the unknown software. So here's showing you here within ServiceNow where you can look at those thousands of different software manufacturers, and you can see those and start to understand the spend over time, what's been detected in the system, what are you currently using. So that is key to help kind of drive where you can reduce your overall software costs. Also, you can start looking at overlapping software. We talked about that earlier from an application portfolio management perspective, but you can kind of do the same thing down here at a software perspective. You can start mapping that software to capabilities and start identifying that you've got multiple software packages for CRM as an example. And so an opportunity to do some consolidation. And next one here was that mitigate that compliance risk. Really is kind of mitigating that compliance cost that you might have to incur or those penalties you might have to incur. So by having that real-time visibility into your usage and your versus your entitlements will allow you to be able to prevent those type of penalties and costs. Also a big one too is just the time and effort of team members to be able to track and monitor and validate your compliance versus using the automation tools and workflow engine to do that automatically. So in summary here, from a software asset management perspective, you have the ability to bring in all of your purchases, whether those spreadsheets, bring in information from your financial systems. That's going to then go in here and be normalized against the thousands of software labels and software manufacturers in the content library, and be able to normalize that and confirm whether or not you're over under spending, whether or not you might be out of compliance. And so that's the key outcome here. As once you've had a chance to identify that, say you've got an under, let's just say as an example, you have a lot of requests for software that appears like you have an over allocation. You can actually use actionable workflow, tie in there and actually send out a request to those that aren't using your application, your software very much, and see if that they still need that software. You can reclaim that software and then redistribute that software to other team members. So you can get some significant savings there. Instead of having to purchase 50 additional licenses, maybe you only need to purchase 7. So you've had that savings of those 43 users or licenses costs. So an example there of kind of automating that from an overall workflow perspective. And then, we can't understate the value of discovery. So whether that be core discovery down at your data infrastructure or your end user computers, that whole integration into your cloud side of things, that can be key as well. We also talked about how you can use the discovery tools for discovery as well as the service mapping. So that can also feed into your end-to-end software asset management portfolio. So next here, I just wanted to also highlight there's many of these different publisher packs that are available. As Jason mentioned, sometimes it's really hard to understand how those software packages are licensed, what compliance is. And so there are out-of-the-box publisher packs to help simplify that. And that's what's being then used for some of the reporting to highlight whether you're in compliance or not. And then last but not least, I've kind of mentioned this scenario a couple of times, but it's just something you're not going to get with other solutions. Typically solutions, you'd get the software usage, and you might be able to get information here about what you need to, actions you need to take. But here in ServiceNow, you can actually translate those rules into workflows and actually then automate certain activities. So in this case, we need to reclaim, so I could uninstall various applications or software. We can come over here and reallocate to make sure that we're compliant, or we need to go off here and terminate various software licenses to reduce our overall spend, or unnecessary spend, I should say. So the power of the workflow, power of the automation can make it a living and breathing function versus it being a really large manual effort from your software asset management team. In terms of benefits, so significant benefits here have been achieved from multiple customers. As Jason was mentioned before, there's a large significant savings you can do here on the software side, say from a year one perspective, and then that would drop down, I think, to 1 to 5% year over year. But significant savings here, especially in the environment today, where our focus has been these first couple months, is to help customers identify those additional funding opportunities or budget saving opportunities here within the next couple of months. And next here, we can look at saving tangible dollars, $5+ million here on software audits. So that's the combination of avoiding actually true up costs, as well as the time savings for having to prepare all the audits. So significant savings here from an audit perspective. And then here's another interesting one, and it comes from the power of the platform. So a lot of times organizations, when they're doing various changes, that change could be as a result of a project, that change could be a result of an enhancement, new capabilities that you're rolling out. But a lot of times there's not a lot of visibility into software cost changes prior to that change going out. So there's a ability to kind of surface those, be able to understand those increases, then be able to get approvals for those. That way, we're not implementing something that's requiring software licenses that are not being communicated at the right level, so you don't have that visibility. And then down the road, you'd have that compliance issue and large penalty. This way you can prevent that on the front end. Jason, any other examples you want to highlight just on benefits and savings here from a software perspective? It's definitely one of those key areas for quick opportunities.
Hey, John. No, not specifically. I would just say that we are more than happy to meet and discuss people's current roadmaps. It all becomes much more real if we talk about what's actually on your 2021 initiatives and how this solution might impact that. So we just met with another customer to talk about a potential Oracle audit that they were finding that they were expecting upcoming here. So it definitely makes it more real, and we're happy to do some of this value analysis planning with you with your individual initiatives. So just kind of offering John and I's support on that.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. Yeah, that's a couple of things I'm going to highlight here going forward. Just for those of you that weren't aware, as expected, ServiceNow is here in the Magic Quadrant from a Gartner perspective. So if you were wondering that, you can feel comforted there. As Jason just kind of mentioned, right, to make it real, we'd like to kind of meet and understand where's your biggest opportunities and have that value discovery session. And then from there, we can put together a roadmap. So the first thing is kind of where do you feel might be the biggest opportunities in your organization? Do you have your application portfolio covered? The cloud, do you have potential unknown spend from a cloud SaaS perspective? Do you think you might have opportunities in the software or the hardware side of things? So those would be some of the potential starting points. Next here, you can see this on the ServiceNow platform, partnered here with Gartner. You can just enter in 5 different data elements here, and it kind of give you an idea of what the business value would be here from a ServiceNow perspective. So that would be a high level. But for a deep dive, we like to do this together with Jason, is the business value assessment. So that way we can actually collect more information and get more specific around your potential benefits, and then really kind of tracking and monitoring with you to actually achieve that. So that takes us here to what Jason was mentioning here in terms of what are the next steps and the quickest way to get to your budget savings. So we can schedule the value discovery workshop, as Jason mentioned, and then from there discuss the roadmap. If you'd like further details, we can definitely schedule a product demonstration. We can schedule that business value assessment if you're trying to get the information needed to justify spend and investment. So this is a real key area that's very, very easy to do with these tangible hard savings. And then last, here's the opportunity to schedule an implementation discovery session and set up an engagement with ResultsPositive to help implement the solution and start achieving those benefits. And we can start off with the value map, which we talked about originally. So that's a quick way of quick next steps. So you can take these in order. You can take one of these at a time. So just based upon where you're at and what your current needs are. As Jason mentioned, maybe you have a pending audit you want to look for, or maybe you have a new pending application suite that's going to be released in the organization, and you don't really have an application inventory, and you want to try to get an understanding of what are all the applications you can decommission without going online. So that could be another example on the application portfolio management side in terms of a driving need. So we'd just like to end here by thanking you for participating in our session today. If you'd like to schedule one of the discovery workshops, feel free to reach out to Jason, myself, or Shauna, and we'll gladly set up a workshop, understand your current requirements, and give you recommendations for that crawl, walk, run approach. Also, we'll be having future sessions here on different ways to drive out savings, whether it be around customer service management, employee engagement with HR service delivery, or through project portfolio management. So at this time, Jason, I'll just turn over to you if you have anything else you'd like to add.
No, thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate that we've had a ton of positive feedback of the ResultsPositive partnership here, specifically with Hawaii Accounts, and the big investment you're making of having Shauna be on island here, I think is really just going to keep improving that tremendous NPS score that you have. So we have a lot of confidence.
Great, thanks, Jason. Yeah, we appreciate the sponsorship and have our commitment for continuing to focus on customer satisfaction, but really driving towards those customer value and outcomes that the on-island customers that we're working together with are achieving.